Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. Today's topic is how my eBay business works and how much money I make from it. I've gotten more than a fair share of questions like this. I thought about, once again, trying to answer everyone inside of the comment section. However, it was far too many small things, so it's kind of compiled into one whole video. I have a couple of businesses. This is why I always mention to other people as well. I think it's important to be able to have or grow or start anything in online business. The last 5 or 6 months have definitely shown that this is incredibly true. I have a lot of other friends who've also started their business or whatever the other case might actually be, doing something online that is relatively resistant to, especially to everything that's been going on. A lot of people are very taken aback everything that's been happening in the last couple of months. And I think it's important to find an online business doing something online, content creation, it doesn't really matter what it is, that continues to bring in money from the side. Should other things that you have job-wise fall through, you can continue still making money and you're not completely left out in the cold. So this video may be a little bit all over the place. A lot of people have been asking me tons of questions. I have a couple of things written down that people have been asking me, and I'll pretty much get into it. A lot of people have been asking me for a while what I sell. I thought I had gone over this before. Apparently I did not. I sell comic books. I sell comic books because I know comic books. I grew up with comic books. My uncle got me started in comic books. He helped me with comic books. I've been collecting comics since I was around 5 or 6 years old. And it just seemed the most logical thing to get into when I was looking for an item to sell. This is why I mentioned before in my other videos about starting an online business or about a dropshipping company. Anything really online, it's best to do what you already know. And if at some point you decide to branch out into other things, which I've also done, especially with the book thing that I was all telling you about for Amazon, you kind of move in this direction. But if you really want to jumpstart, do what you know. It's the most logical thing. Don't learn something for an entire 2 months and then get into it unless you really want to do that. If you know something, because we all know something, this is what you kind of get into. I sell comic books because I found myself that the profit margins for them were absolutely excellent. I do not think this is a business for everyone. I think a lot of people, if you grew up with comics and you know how to tell which comics are good, this will be absolutely something that you should probably also think about getting into as well. Went over what I sell. One of the main things that I have, I'm sure I've mentioned this either on this channel or the other channel, is that I know multiple languages. And it started out as curiosity, but I think one of the main benefits of being able to know other languages is that, especially for my line of work with the eBay business, is I'm able to acquire tons of comics in different languages. Why is this special? Because especially in the American market, which is usually where I sell, you find that a lot of people, it's kind of like a rarity thing. Americans find foreign issues sometimes a lot more worthwhile than their American counterparts because they also may sell for a lot less, but also puts it into the price bracket for a lot of other people who may not normally be able to acquire the American version of the comics. Case in point, I can't really see them. Maybe I can see them backwards. These two right here, these are old Superman comics. Someone wrote on the top of this one, it says 1956. And this one is from, I don't know if you can see it. It says number 12 from 1950. These are incredibly old. These are incredibly rare. They are in incredibly good condition. And I found that a lot of times, whether I believe these are Swedish, if I'm not mistaken. I find a lot of times if I'm traveling, searching around, or even just looking around online, a lot of times you find that there's a huge benefit in knowing another language because it also helps to facilitate the actual business. I myself don't know Swedish. However, I know a couple of other languages, which allows me to kind of get a foothold in the area. Same exact thing with, so for those of you who don't know, I speak English, French, and German. I understand Italian as it's very close to Spanish, which I also kind of grew up with around me all over the place, so I can still understand Spanish, but a lot of times if I have to form a sentence, it kind of crumbles apart this way. This allows me to be able to buy Italian comics. For those of you who don't know what this is, It's Fantastic Four. It's the first time that the Hulk met the Fantastic Four in the Thing. There was a huge fight thing between them in the 60s and 70s where the Hulk was always fighting the Thing. Those were the stories back then. For some reason, buying on Italian eBay, if you are Italian and are on eBay, I'm telling you this as a public service announcement, it's incredibly difficult buying from Italian eBay because they don't set the correct shipping price. So normally, if the shipping should be realistically about a good $4.99, $5.99, even $6.99, sometimes they'll have like the international shipping at 37 euros when the comic book itself costs around $1.99, and you're like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not spending the reverse. And one time I had an Italian friend sign into Italian eBay to actually see what the shipping would be if I was in Italy. It was like $1.99. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But however, I've contacted some people in broken Italian asking, hey, I live here. What's the actual shipping cost for that? And they go, oh, it's only $6.99. And I'm like, why didn't you have that on your actual thing before? So that's one thing. Where I found the most success, like I said, it's going to be all over the place for this video. Just trying to tell you completely honestly. It's about 4 years now, give or take, around that time frame. I myself have found the most success with German comics, and I'm going to explain why. And I'm pretty sure that someone's going to steal part of my idea, but it kind of is what it is. I also want people to be able to build their own businesses from this. Not saying you once again have to sell comics, but it can be whatever. I noticed, if you want to say like a gap in the market, huge, gigantic one. For some reason, every single time that there were foreign comics being sold on American eBay, it was usually always from Mexico. I guess Mexico was the closest, quickest place. And I started realizing that there were tons of amazing comics in Germany that no one was buying. So when I was in Germany, if I would go to a flea market, I would look around and go, wow, this is crazy. And I would see these things inside of these boxes, and I would always ask the people timidly, how much is this? And then they would tell me how much it was, and I proceeded to buy as many as I possibly can. For an example, if you've ever been into comics, almost said made comics. If you've purchased comics before, if you know what a comic book is, you may recognize this. This is the first appearance of Iron Man. In German, it's as they don't have the actual Tales of Suspense because these comics were made like a couple of years after the American ones. But what happened is that they still released them just completely in German. These have been, I'll show you the actual, some of them, which have been my most successful selling ones. And I was able to, first of all, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to me collecting art, I'm a little bit obsessive. So I'll collect, if there's especially from something from like Shepard Fairey, myself, I collect the unsigned, the signed, the limited 450, and usually any type of larger version that's 24 by 26 also signed. I collect every single variant. So when I found out that through multiple outlets that I was able to get the first appearance of Iron Man, this is the German first appearance of the Green Goblin. Same exact comic, same exact insides, except that it's in German. For those of you who have no idea what this is the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America, because he had perished, died, disappeared at some point in the actual Marvel universe many moons ago. And this is in German coloring, The Amazing Spider-Man #1, but in German. When I found out that I could get these, I'm not joking. They were sometimes €1, maybe €3. I collected as many of them as possible. I've sold off obviously a lot of these over the years. I at one point had, I want to say 50 of these. Not even half joking. The greatest part for me was being able to pick these up incredibly cheap and then being able to sell them for a huge profit. This is what I mean by the huge gap in the market. Every single comic was just coming from Mexico. And I sat there thinking, I was like, well, maybe the Italian, the German, the French, the Spanish, the Norwegian, the so-and-so versions just aren't really worth anything. And I was like, no, that's nonsense. Like, stuff is always, people find value in things that other people normally don't find value in, or you kind of have to show them that there's value in what you have. For those of you who do not know, the first appearance of the Green Goblin in English is roughly anywhere from, I guess a really bad copy is maybe $800-900. And then you have the amazing pristine copies, 10, 20, 30, 40,000. I mean, there are probably not many pristine copies of this actual issue. When I can get these for €1 and I can resell them, I think the highest I've ever resold this one was, I think, 149. It was also very good condition as well. Like, everything is fairly good. I'm showing you outside of the plastic to just show you, so you have a greater understanding of the actual condition. Yeah. It's the same exact thing with the first appearance, or rather Amazing Spider-Man #1. I used to get these for €3-4 when I was traveling around and when I was looking around, and I was selling them, I'm going to be honest with all of you, selling them for like $299. And I let people know on eBay multiple times. I had a couple of people, if you make an eBay business, just get ready for some of the stuff like this. I told people multiple times. It said it in the title. It said it when you like scroll down, and then, like, you know, the huge white box of the description, Amazing Spider-Man 1. German edition, German print. All inside pages are in German. And then it said the actual, rest of the text, what you had to say, yada, yada. And at the very bottom, please make sure you understand that when you buy this comic, it is completely in German. If you've ever seen this issue in English, this looks nothing like it. It's a completely different color. Like, the picture's the same. The words are in German. And also the colors are, this is like supposed to be like a light blue sky. So you'll definitely have some people who go, I've had more than my fair share, who've said, oh, I thought this was in English. And I messaged them back and I'm like, really? You're a comic book collector. You probably have seen what it looks like in the American version, and you for some reason thought that this was the English one. A lot of times I've gotten incredibly lucky. I believe this is the first appearance of Sinestro. I think it's Sinestro. The reason I continued to sell comics was because of things like this. You can't really tell the condition. It's almost difficult through the actual plastic. This is incredibly high grade. It came out, I think, a couple of months after the American one came out. Only difference is it's completely in German, and it's very high grade. But I got a lot of these things for €1 or €2. I realized after being able to sell a lot of them, I completely went on the hunt very, very fast for as many of them as possible. I think there was at one point, because remember, the point being, I took a photo one point with this. And for those of you that don't know, this is the first appearance of the Punisher and the Amazing Spider-Man. I think I had over 100 of them. For those of you who don't know, a little history lesson. This in English is the the Amazing Spider-Man #129. In German, it's issue number 130, because they took Amazing Fantasy, which was his first appearance, and actually have that as issue number 1 in German. Who knows why? Just exactly how it is. So all the issues were pushed back by 1, so not 129, it's number 130. So that number is very iconic in the Amazing Spider-Man world. So when I would get this for €1, many of them, I started reselling these at $129.99. You know why? Because it's issue number 129. And you know how fast they sold at that price? Extremely fast, because the American version is about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times higher. So people who are looking to actually have the issue, have the first appearance of the character, have all these other things, they buy foreign issues, which is just how my business started and how my business kind of continued. I do also collect, and I'm telling you all of this as well because I don't know if you can see it. It's Old Man Logan. It's a Wolverine comic. This isn't actually in English, and I'm showing you this because don't just assume that only foreign issues are what I sell or things that are going to sell. When the movie Logan came out, was it 2-3 years ago? I, myself, because I'm into selling comics, I usually have about 5-10 different tabs open on my browser for comic books. And they also cover comic book news, comic books coming out, new movies coming out, new TV shows. When a new TV show or something or a movie is coming out for a comic book, the price usually spikes. People go completely insane because it's the popularity of it, and a lot of people want to kind of get into it as well. So I remember when the movie Logan was supposed to be coming out. These are variant covers and what have you. You could find these because no one really wanted this section of the Wolverine comics for Old Man Logan. And a lot of these comics I was getting for $1.99 or $1 because they were in kind of like the junk bin. And I was selling, I think, this particular issue for, I think, $24.99 at one point. I think the highest it went up to was $34.99. But then the other variant covers, which I no longer have because they were relatively rare because they weren't extremely high printed. Oh gosh, which one was it? There was one particular cover that was selling for a lot. I think it was like a 1 in 50 cover. I don't remember what it was, but that was also over 100. So when it comes to comics, this is why I said it's not going to be for everyone because you really have to finally pay attention to everything that's kind of going on. It's a little different for other collectibles, like other collectibles like statues and figurines and keychains and all these other things. They have like historic value. A lot of times the crypto market, a lot of time the comic market is incredibly speculative, but also that's not really up for you to have to deal with because the idea is that if you see something is being hyped or pumped up, you grab it as quickly as possible, and then you also, sorry that it's so bright. It's like summertime brightness, and it just keeps kind of like increasing as well. There's also another part of it. Also have just another example. The first appearance of Scorpion in German. My best-selling comic by far. If you know what this is, you are a true comic fan because most people won't actually know what this is. Hold on. There's like a smudge on the plastic. If you can tell me, I was going to say if you can tell me what this is in the comment section, you'll get a prize, but it doesn't make any sense because I have to tell you what it is right now. This is, in English, Batman Adventures number 12. In German, it's Batman Adventures number 9 because they smushed the issues together, but they still use the same cover. This is the first appearance of Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn is one of my favorite characters. Not that you care. You shouldn't care. I remember finding this at a flea market one time. Remember one of those moments, and I was asking the guy, I was like, hey, how much is that? And he was like, oh, it's €1. I said, oh, cool. And I kept on digging, and I think he had like 4 more of these. It was the weirdest day of my entire life. I started stacking up on these around the time the Suicide Squad movie was going to come out. I tried to see exactly how much I could sell these for. I think the English copies around that time, the American copies, were selling for anywhere from $1,500 to like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. The hype was real. I put this one on for I think $499. It didn't sell after 2 days. I put it on $399. If you've never sold on eBay, you can see like how many people are watching, how many people are following your item. Started getting some followers. I put it to $299. Sold. And I think that really solidified. I was already like okay with selling comics, but this was one of the very like first ones that I was like, okay, this is going to become absolute madness. I wish I could show you some of the other examples that I had, like the first appearance of Kamala Khan and all this other stuff, all the other variant covers. I had hundreds of these. The word isn't absorb. Accumulated. I got as many of these as I humanly could. Also had this in French. I had this in German. I had this in Spanish, like Spain Spanish. There was also a Greek version, an Italian version, and something else. I went completely insane. This was So the next question on here as well is that people were asking me for my eBay business, and one of the questions, what I look for profit-wise. That's usually it. I notice, especially as I make sure, like when I'm selling comics, unless it's like a modern age, something along this lines, that I can get for one to sell for 25 or, whatever, it's still a huge, massive profit. I make sure that I only collect what they call key issues, like very rare, very hard to find first appearances that are astronomically out of the realm of possibility for normal collectors within the States. And I focus on the States because I've noticed that other countries around the world don't have the same fervor or interest in buying comic books, and therefore this is why I choose to sell, me personally, to the States. This is bugging me. Hold on, half a second. I'm gonna try and put something in the way, simply because, does that work? Tiny bit, yay, it worked. A little bit, still kind of out there. The profit margins that I myself look for, and that you yourself should probably also be looking for, is anything 10x, you're completely fine. If you get something for $1 online, whether you're selling books or whatever the case might actually be, if you can sell it for $12.99, $10.99, you're making a 10x profit from that. Always test the waters. Don't be afraid to try and, see how high you can go with things. Because a lot of times you'll find that people will actually want it at that price. I tell you also honestly, I've started pulling away from selling comics just because I kind of want a lot more passive things. I still do comics because it's, it's fun. I like the collecting factor and kind of the rush of getting into it. What I found is that my market, first of all, funny part, because there was no market for foreign comics as big as it currently is right now, I basically flooded the market with all of my comics. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So what happened is that a lot of people who were receiving my comic tried to resell them and flip them for a profit, but they didn't know how to do it, and a lot of it became very sloppy. So a lot of people are trying to sell the same things that I sell, but at a lower price, trying to undercut me, but it doesn't work because for instance, if you have something like this, if you got it for €1 and you try to resell it for 300 becomes kind of the main basis price for what someone or people are going to try and sell it for. You can usually go a bit up to test it out. I usually stay around the same exact area. 1 to 300 I'm fine. A lot of other people started trying to resell them for 150, 100. I saw even some for 49, which also made no sense because I know that they had purchased it from me for 300. So I guess they were trying to see exactly how high it could go up in the actual auction thing. But it causes confusion within the market because people then no longer know what this comic is worth. So if other people had acquired the same exact thing that I had gotten and had placed it at the same exact value that I had or a lot higher, this would have been the actual price for it. But when you price it lower than what you got it for, the market kind of becomes completely, wow, man. This is really intense now. It's like reflecting off the floor and other stuff that I have. It's a lot. Yeah. That's what I usually look for profit-wise, just me, myself. I test the waters. Why not? Try to put don't buy it for one and have it for 1,000. That number is completely obscene. Try $24.99. Try a little bit higher. If you know that you have something very rare, very special, don't be afraid to sell it for a lot higher and see exactly if people end up buying it. Someone was asking, how do I find good comics to sell? That's it. You go along with either the trends, what's coming out, new TV show, new movie. The same exact thing happened with the first issue of, this is nuts. This is insane. I feel like it's like a solar beam hitting me. This is the same exact thing that happened with the first issue of The Walking Dead. That comic nobody wanted. I think it came out in 2003 or 2004. It just wasn't a comic that people were looking to get. And then around the time that they announced the TV show in 2009, 2010, that issue was people were buying as many as they possibly could. But a lot of people on Instagram and stuff like that who would show what kind of comics they have for sale, they were buying it. Wait. I'm going to get it. Got it. Found exactly where it was coming from. They were buying... tripod. Yeah. They were buying that issue for, I think, $2 or $3. And by the time the TV show came out, I think it was floating between $200 to $400 for the first issue of The Walking Dead. and now it sells for thousands. So it's just about finding the trends. It's difficult to know when to hold on. I myself don't really hold on to stuff. I accumulate huge, massive amounts of it and kind of push it as the demand really comes. It depends on what you're really looking for. Do you want to try and sell very old comics, the golden age stuff? There's a market for them, but it doesn't go as fast. I found that the quickest market is modern age comics. That is to say, anything after 92, 93, 94, somewhere around this time period. Or Silver Age to, I want to say bronze. A lot of the bronze stuff is becoming popular because a lot of these older characters that no one really knew before are now getting their own movies and TV shows, so they're becoming a lot more popular. Modern age stuff is still very, very good. It's incredibly speculative. I don't know if you guys know about you probably don't. The New 52, this came out a couple of years ago when DC rebooted everything and they started everything from the very beginning. So they had Batman #1, Superman #1. People lost their minds for these issues. And Batman was kind of the clear front runner in the entire New 52 area. Issue 1 of Batman, the first print and the second print, and sometimes even the third print, but the first and second print. You could buy it in the store. I think it was $2.99 for the original things. After about a good month or two, issue 1 was selling for, I think, $35, anywhere to $50. The second print was selling from anywhere from $10 to around $15. By the time about a year had gone by, a year or two, and the New 52 had kind of solidified itself as like the new thing in the DC universe, issue 1 was selling anywhere from like 100 to 180 or something like that, and graded copies were selling for 500. There was a 1 in 200. So if you had a store and they bought 200 of that issue, they would get one black and white issue as like the special variant cover. That was selling for anywhere from $500 to I think $1,500. It was 500 to 1,500. 500 to 1,500 for that one issue alone. It was just complete absolute madness. But this was also highly speculative as well, because DC eventually destroyed the New 52 and rebooted again. So the older comics kind of lost a lot of their value, what have you. People were asking how much I make monthly from my eBay business. In the very beginning, I started out making, I want to say 200 or 300 per month, maybe. 150, 200, 300, around that area. It took a lot to figure out how to package stuff, how to send it, how to ship it. I told you all before, I was finding out the actual rates for different countries for shipping stuff. So my rates were kind of all over the place, but then I realized, it clicked in my head, if I'm getting this for €1 and I can sell it for 129 or 300, the shipping doesn't really matter. So I made my base shipping a solid $4.99 for everyone around the world. I got a lot of questions and people messaging me, is it $4.99 for where I live? I'm like, sure, it doesn't matter where you live. Sometimes the shipping would come out to $11.50 for where they lived. I still made $300 off of something that I paid $1 for. So the shipping doesn't matter. Yes, that's the amount I was making in the beginning. About a year after, I was making about a good 1,000 per month from it. I was selling anywhere from 3 to 15 comics. A lot of times I was buying other in-between issues. So, the first appearance of this character you've never heard of, or the second time this character appeared, I was still able to get them for €1 or $1 from different countries. And I was selling them for around like $29.99, which wasn't terrible. It's still a huge profit, but I had to constantly ship out tons of comics. A lot of times it becomes very fatiguing. At the peak, I was doing around anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 per month. And that was when I really had focused all my efforts. That was right before I even thought about doing the YouTube channel, my TMI channel. I put all my effort into it and it was paying off extraordinarily. I wish I had some of the other issues to show you as well. The other variant covers that were also modern age. But I kind of burnt out. It was too much. I decided that I wanted to do everything myself. There was no company who I hired to pick them up. There was no I did everything myself, from taking the photos to putting it online, to packaging it, to shipping it, to the tracking code, everything. I did everything myself, but it was kind of a lot. I've pulled back from the eBay business. It's still there. Make a good, it's like $1,500, give or take, per month. a lot of my focus, if you have not noticed, I was going to point to the two computers. That means nothing to you. A lot of my focus goes to this current channel and to the TMI channel, and also to my art investments and stuff like that. My other investments that I have right now make me enough money that I'm able to not have to really break my back selling stuff on eBay all the time. It wasn't breaking my back, it was just a lot of work. This is why I keep mentioning to other people, and once again, going back full circle to starting an online business, what you're going to find out is after a couple of years of you making money in it, you have enough money, you should maybe even be allocating a little tiny bit per month into another investment vehicle that also makes you money on the side, so that eventually you won't even have to, if you choose to, not continue to do this business. It's very fun. I like it. I think it's very fascinating that the comic book scene is still alive and well. A lot of people like selling and buying comics. But I think eventually in a year or two, I think myself, I'll have kind of moved on, because I want my main focus to be real estate and art. That's not, crypto channels and, the other YouTube channels. But I want my main focus as far as my investments to be exclusively focused on art, buying art, and also accumulating as much real estate as I possibly can. I think I answered everything. What I sell, how much I make from it, benefits of, I mean, I'm not expecting all of you to go out and learn 5 or 6 languages, but it's just, if you learn another language, the benefit that you'll have in doing business is absolutely phenomenal. When you buy stuff in Germany, being able to talk to them in German is incredible. When you're in France and you can make jokes with people and kind of bargain and barter with them in French, it's absolutely incredible. There's nothing really like it. So I would recommend, if you find the time in your life, to definitely do so. How to find good comics to sell is basically about trends or really popular things. Like these 2 comics are not going to go out of fashion anytime soon. There's not going to be a point where people hate the Punisher, or where people aren't looking for the first appearance of Harley Quinn. What I look for in profits, and how much I make monthly. If I missed anything, if there are any other questions that you have that you would like me to answer, or you think I should elaborate on, please let me know in the comment section. I'm always here to help as much as possible. This is a lot. It's a lot for me right now. And the sun's also moving around, obviously, around the room. And it started over here. I don't know if you remember the other part of the video was here. And now it's kind of like over here. So this eye is being struck. Anyway, I do hope you all enjoyed. I hope I answered all of your questions as to one of my businesses. I went over the other the other Amazon business for selling books and like that in the other video. I do hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.